Tonight, Scotland on a global stage. The World Cup draw is underway. We'll find out which country Scotland will play in next summer's tournament.
And here in Washington, D.C., after almost 3 decades, we're waiting to see who we'll face. Brazil, Argentina, or maybe even the old enemy.
We're live inside the Kennedy Centre where Scotland are about to discover their World Cup fate. Global superstars aplenty here in this iconic venue, including President Trump, as Scotland gets set to return to the grandest stage of them all.
Meanwhile, back here in Scotland, well, we're all in the Tartan Army now. Across the country, fans are watching and waiting, ready to book a flight to America in June.
Can't wait, super excited. We were at the Euros and hopefully we can get to the USA.
If we're going to get the ones out of pot 1, I would take Spain.
All the flights looked at, all know who knows might go out to it. So yeah, no, can't wait to go.
I'm Andrea Brimer. This is the STV News at 6, live from Aberdeen. Good evening. Almost 3 decades in the making, Scotland should know shortly which countries we'll face in next summer's World Cup. The draw is already underway in Washington, D.C. with all the razzmatazz that you'd expect. So, an anxious wait right now for Steve Clarke and his men, waiting to find out who they'll play at the tournament. And indeed for STV's Rahman and Ronnie, who are both in a snowy Washington, D.C. following the draw for us.
A very good evening from Washington. Well, after all of the build-up, the World Cup draw has begun and Scotland are just minutes away from learning who they'll face at next year's tournament. And it'll be the biggest World Cup ever, expanded from 32 teams to 48 teams. Now there will be 12 groups, each group consisting of 4 countries. The top 2 teams in each group qualify to the knockout stages, as do the 8 best third-place teams. Now, in terms of the draw, there are 4 pots. Scotland are in pot 3. All of the home nations are in pot 1. The USA, Canada and Mexico, and they've already been allocated their pots. Group A for Mexico, Group B for Canada and Group D for the United States of America. Well, the draw is taking place here at the city's iconic Kennedy Centre. Another one to miss out on an invitation to the red carpet. Ronnie Charters is there for us. Of course he's there for us. Ronnie.
I had to be, Rahman. I had to be, didn't I? And what an occasion it is here inside the Kennedy Centre. The world's media have assembled, global superstars aplenty. And the draw, as you mentioned, is underway. We're obviously a bit behind, these draws tend to be, but what an occasion it is, what an atmosphere it is. As you can hear music playing behind us as well as this draw continues and we count down to Scotland, finding out who we will face. Donald Trump, a man synonymous with Scotland, of course. He was front and centre of the draw earlier. He was awarded the inaugural Peace Prize from FIFA President Gianni Infantino, and he addressed the Kennedy Centre a few moments ago. Let's hear what President Trump had to say.
It's such an honor to be with Johnny. I've known Johnny for so long. He's done such an incredible job. And I have to tell you, you've set new records on ticket sales. And not to bring that up, because we don't want to bring a thing like that up right now, but it's an awfully nice tribute to you and to the game of football, or as we call it, soccer. But football, and that is an amazing thing. The numbers are beyond any numbers that anybody, even beyond what Johnny thought was possible.
What an evening it is turning out to be. So here's the state of play. We are currently awaiting the rest of pot 1, the top seeds, as you were just describing there, Rahman, to be drawn out of the hat. Then we go to pot 2 and then all eyes on pot 3. That is Scotland's group. That's when we'll determine and we'll get to find out where we'll be playing and who we will be playing. The atmosphere is incredible here. I keep saying it, but it's very, very true. Scotland are back on this big stage and it's beginning to feel very real. So we will keep you up to date here inside the Kennedy Centre with all the very latest. But right now, back to you, Raman.
Well, we'll be going back to Washington later in the programme. But to other news now. And charities say more bold action is still needed to tackle child poverty after the UK government published its strategy to help families. Currently, around 1 in 4 children in Scotland are living in poverty. Here's our political correspondent, Ewan Petrie.
After her son Lewis was born, Caris came to rely on this charity for support.
Child benefit is great, but it's not a lot. It doesn't make you rich or anything. It means that you've got enough to feed their bellies and, you know, buy them the odd thing that they need. So that's where 3 days really helped us. They were able to help give us vouchers when we needed it.
Presents are beginning to pile up as this year's toy drive gets into full swing here. Scrapping the 2-child benefit cap will help many families who rely on this service.
It's when they see if it's going to make any difference to them financially. I think that will be the true test come April. You know, if the cap does make improvements, it might take a while for them to see differences. But I think the whole point of this time of year is for us to really try and break down the stigma. You know, people don't have to worry about approaching us if they're struggling.
The UK government has come under sustained pressure to scrap the limit ahead of the announcement in the budget last week.
This government is very open to challenge.
Some of those urging them to act sooner met with the Scotland Office Minister this morning as the UK government published its child poverty strategy.
It'll be almost 2 years by the time it's actually scrapped by next April that you will have been in power.
We've made a decision, I say, that will have more impact on child poverty than any other decision made this century. We've done it within 18 months of coming in. We've also taken a huge number of other actions immediately to improve the state of family finances. We did have to work out how and whether we could pay for this. We've made that choice. We've made decisions that we can pay for it and it will be sustainable, whilst also maintaining the state of the public finances and stability in the economy.
They've essentially got rid of something that frankly should have been binned a long time ago. So we would like to see them do more around supporting people into work, keeping house costs down. For example, they've frozen housing benefit again. That's something that has been stuck for an awful long time. That causes poverty too. Again, government policy causing poverty, things that they can and should change.
The Scottish Government says poverty rates here have only fallen because of measures including the Scottish Child Payment. Attention now shifts to what it will do to support families when it announces its budget in January. Ewan Petrie, STV News.
Investigations are continuing after a man's death in Inverness. A 52-year-old man was arrested in connection with the incident yesterday morning. Officers were called to a house in Strathspey Place around 8:30. A 32-year-old was pronounced dead at the scene. Additional patrols are being carried out in the area. The Scottish fishing fleet has cautiously welcomed proposals for next year's catch limit after negotiations between the UK, Norway and the EU ended. The amount of cod that can be caught has been nearly halved. There were fears it could be cut completely. Well, Hayley joins us now from the newsroom. So what do the fleet think about this, Hayley?
Well, they say it could have been worse, Andrea. It was only a few weeks ago that the scientific body who look at fish stocks had suggested a 0 catch cod limit for next year, a proposal which the fleet said was simply unworkable. So reducing it by 44% is a middle ground in order to protect vulnerable cod stocks in the North Sea, but it's still not a great outcome.
For cod and for saithe and for herring, it's been much more challenging. Cod in particular, in terms of a 44% reduction in the total allowable catch. It's a huge drop. It could have been worse in terms of the outcome that has been reached. And there's a lot that we'll be doing in the year ahead in terms of looking at management measures around how the stock can be protected.
Now, to put these numbers into context, the Shetland Fishermen's Association estimates the cod cut will cost their fleet at least £16 million next year. Quota talks are set to conclude with other coastal neighbours in the coming days, Andrea.
Thank you, Hayley. A woman who pretended to be a carer to gain entry into the flat of a 97-year-old man in Dundee before causing his death has been jailed for nearly 7 years. Tandy Swinton pushed over William Lambie at his home in Dryborough Gardens in April last year after demanding money from him. The pensioner suffered serious injuries and died a month later. The 44-year-old had previously targeted William and other elderly people in the area. The Crown Office is to consider if a sentence handed to a child abuser was unduly lenient. Patricia Baxter was found guilty of 18 counts of abusing children in her care at Fernethy House in Angus over 3 decades. Due to factors including her age, the 77-year-old was given a probationary sentence rather than being sent to prison. Prosecutors say the law only allows appeals in very rare circumstances. Teachers at a private school in Perth are to take further strike action in a row over pensions. EIS members at Craigclowen are to walk out on Monday and Tuesday after a previous strike last week. School management have said their contributions offer remains generous. Now, a mountain biker who took to the slopes and whizzed down every one of Scotland's highest peaks will see his epic adventure screened at the Dundee Mountain Film Festival this weekend. Sean Green from Angus set himself the challenge back in 2017. With more, here's Saul Sivright.
Step after step after step.
8.5 years, 282 Munros and a lot of determination. Sean Green, known online as Grizzly Munro Diaries, believes he's only the second person ever to summit every one of Scotland's highest mountains with a bike before cycling down them.
I do have a fascination with riding my bike down big hills, and there was quite a few big hills to choose from in Scotland. So about 8.5 years ago I attempted to sort of start riding them, and once I'd sort of had in my head that I wanted to explore what was out there, there could have been 3,000 and I still would have attempted it. Everyone's ready to go, I'm ready to go.
Sean finished the feat back in July, but just weeks later he suffered a devastating setback. During what should have been a routine competition practice run in the Borders, Sean crashed near the finish line.
I blacked out. And the first thing that, when I came round, I said was my hand was pins and needles, and the first thing that was said back to me was, could you sit up for me, love? So right from the get-go, everything was sort of downplayed, and I drove 160 miles up the road and walked myself into my local hospital. Then sort of within half an hour, 40 minutes, I was told not to move, and they were pretty certain I'd broken my neck.
Remarkably, he's now back at work, still in a neck brace, but already planning his return to the mountains. This weekend, Sean is sharing his story at the Dundee Mountain Film Festival, inspiring others with his journey of endurance.
We've got very exciting films lined up, some really gems from all over the world, showing climbs and mountains that are really covering the whole spectrum of mountain climbing, mountain adventure. Probably best of all, we've got 4 different speakers who are giving talks about what they've been up to in the mountains. I feel sort of even more privileged now that how active I'm able to be, and I'm dying to get back in the hills and just appreciate it all over again.
His current quest may now have been completed, but Sean is now looking to new horizons, and after completing his recovery, it's on to the next adventure. Saul Sivright, STV News.
Now, earlier than usual in the programme, it's time for the weather already. Sean is standing by with that.
Wet by the coast, with a high chance of sun and splashing. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, at home things are looking pretty damp over the next couple of days. 2 main areas of rain to come through in the next few days. Tonight will probably be one of the wetter periods, and then on Sunday we'll have some shower outbreaks of rain through much of tomorrow. But then on Sunday we see this next weather front coming through. That actually brings in some quite heavy rain during Sunday, so looking like a very wet end to the weekend. Now, talking of very wet, we've got lots of rain moving into the west at the moment. Over the next few hours, we'll see that running our way. And yes, there is a little bit of snow, but that's just for the tops of the lights of the Ochils, the Sidlaws, the southern end of the Grampians. A little bit of snow over the high ground during tonight. But for most of us, it is a wet night. It'll also be quite windy as that rain goes through as well. At least with the cloud and the rain, we avoid the frost. We're about maybe 4 to 6 degrees overnight tonight, but if you are out and about, it's going to feel quite raw with the rain and that wind. Temperatures, I'd say, about 5-6 degrees overnight. Tomorrow morning, we start the day with a lot of cloud. There will be some shower outbreaks of rain, but most of that hopefully fizzling out through the morning. And by the afternoon, it does become a bit drier and bright, especially across eastern parts of Fife and Angus. But we will still hang on to some showers across parts of Stirlingshire and Perthshire. Your afternoon highs not too far off average for the time of year, around 7 to 9 degrees. Lawrence Kirk probably top spot tomorrow, 9 degrees Celsius. Sunday, though, we see that heavy rain coming in from the south. Your afternoon highs about 9 degrees and staying quite unsettled through next week too. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, let's get back to the main story of the day. The World Cup draw is underway as we speak. Chris?
It's going quite slowly at the moment, Andrea.
Really?
Yeah, the draw should be well underway at the moment, but this is a Donald Trump spectacle. We've had more of Donald Trump and Gianni Infantino of FIFA than we have had balls draw out of the bowls. But the 3 host nations have been drawn, as Rahman said at the top of the show, but we are still waiting for Scotland to come out. Who are they going to get? Well, we could get a Brazilian, we could get an Argentinian nation. I would love if we got one of the home nations, America or Canada or even Mexico. And if we do pick Mexico, that means we will kick off the World Cup live in Mexico City on the very first day. Well, the draw has been taking place. It's meant to take place up until about 7 o'clock. Hopefully, we will hear who Scotland will face sometime during the programme. They're just explaining the draw at the moment, and yes, it is as complicated as it looks. Well, to find out what the excitement is like across the country, let's head down to Dundee, where Stephanie Daly is in a pub. Stephanie, sounds like there's plenty of atmosphere there in anticipation.
Chris, it might be the Christmas party season, but there's a few World Cup draw watch parties on the go across the country. And I'm here in Dundee, where fans are eagerly anticipating the draw, waiting to see who Scotland would get. And of course, the last time Scotland were in the World Cup, France 98, they got Brazil in the opening game. And I was just wondering, would you like to see Scotland get a glamour tie in this event?
For me, the group I would like is Scotland, New Zealand, Australia, maybe one of the favourites, Spain, Brazil, Argentina, something like that. That would be fine for me.
Fantastic. A little birdie tells me that you are an Englishman. Would you like to be meeting Scotland at the World Cup?
I think whoever we play is going to be a tough group, but I think I'd like to see England, Scotland. Of course I would. I think it'll be great for the home internationals to see Scotland play in England again. Oh,
absolutely. And you yourself, who would you like to see Scotland play at the World Cup?
Wow, first time in my decade. Obviously, I watched them 98 against Brazil, but I would be looking at the smaller countries like Burkina Faso, hopefully New Zealand, Australia, Canada. We're always going to get a big team.
Great stuff. Okay, well, we're going over to this table over here who are a little bit rowdy, and they're going to give us a little bit of a sing-song. Are you going to give us a song?
If you like, yeah.
Go for it. Go for it. Go.
No Scotland, no party.
Well, thankfully, Scotland are going to be at the party next summer in the USA, Canada or Mexico. Well, while the eyes of the whole country are focused on the draw, that will be paused at least for a couple of hours tomorrow afternoon as the domestic game gets underway. Well, in the Premiership tomorrow, the North game of the day is at Dens Park, where Aberdeen travel to face Dundee. The Dons are unbeaten in 7 in all competitions, but the D's have rallied too, and it's got all the makings of a cracker. United, meanwhile, only travel to Paisley, keen to get back to winning ways. And who did they last beat? St Mirren.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Christmas Sale.
Aberdeen hit the goal trail the last time the two sides met at Pittodrie, and while Dundee were not in great form then, they're more robust now and pack more of a goal threat too. Aberdeen have defender Gavin Malloy out for 8 weeks, after he suffered a knee injury in the 3-3 draw against St Mirren.
We should keep focused now on the right things and do a better game, because it's going to be a difficult game now away, and Dundee, for example, beat St Mirren 3-1 at home, so they have quality, and it's a away game, and we have to stay focused now and do a really good performance tomorrow.
Dundee last beat Aberdeen back in March 2024. Dee's manager Stephen Presley is wary of the Dons' attacking threat.
The one thing that's very evident about them is they're a team that have got very good creative offensive players, and if we don't get our defensive work right and our press right, they will hurt you, there's no doubt. But I think from our offensive perspective, if we can get the defensive work right, we can give them problems. There's no doubt about that. We have the players in the group, the attacking players that can give them some difficulties on the day.
Dundee United will need to pick themselves back up from the disappointment of an agonising draw against Rangers this week when they travel to St Mirren tomorrow. After 3 draws and 2 defeats in their last 5 games, United's last victory came against the Buddies. And manager Jim Goodwin is looking for the same level of performance as the Tangerines put in midweek.
We've done well in these types of games all season. At Ibrox, at Tynecastle, at Easter Road, here against Rapid Vienna, away in Austria. It's easy as a player to raise your game and motivate yourself for these big ones. You've got to bring the same attitude and the same mindset in all of the other games as well. So that's the challenge now for the players, to make sure that they have a similar approach to the game on Saturday against St Mirren, which is going to be an extremely difficult game.
Elsewhere in the Premiership tomorrow, Rangers travel to Kilmarnock, Hibs host Falkirk and Motherwell welcome Livingston, while on Sunday Celtic host Hearts. Reem Sitar, STV Sport.
Well, as the Tartan Army await full details of who Scotland will be playing, where and when, there's already been a lot of planning going on. Here's Gordon Cree.
Since this moment 2.5 weeks ago, Scotland fans have been waiting for this one.
Live from the heart of Washington, D.C., the FIFA World Cup 2026 final draw.
Hello. Draws come with possibility and jeopardy. Our last World Cup saw one of the toughest opponents of all.
So Scotland go into position 2 with Brazil.
That must have just been huge.
Oh, it was an incredible thing.
Martin was there. The memory is now 27 years old.
Driving around France from city to city, enjoying the atmosphere, enjoying the camaraderie, enjoying the relationship with the locals and our opponents everywhere we went. We had such a wonderful time there.
2026 will be much more expensive and logistically much harder.
I'm cursed of having been a Scotland fan since I was born, and I can't miss a game. We've played in some unsavoury and unwelcome places in my travelling history, but you don't get to choose for Scotland play, and you have to look out the passport, book the flights and go there.
For his son Aidan, a first World Cup.
I do believe that there is a certain desperation to get to a game like this, because it is the first in such a long time. No, I think this will hopefully become a much more frequent thing.
Travel agents say they've already had people booking stateside trips, keen to be part of the atmosphere without even knowing the cities or opponents on Scotland's schedule. Like the draw, Edinburgh's Royal Mile brings together nations from around the world.
Do you think Scotland and the Scotland fans will get a good welcome in the United States?
Oh, of course,
Absolutely.
yeah, definitely.
What is it you like about the Scots?
Everything. Everything. Food, culture, sports.
So you'd be happy for us to bring a bit of that over next summer?
And kick our ass, yes.
Perfect. Not sure whether we can say that or not, but
kick our butt, yes.
You won't be going to the World Cup for your honeymoon?
No, unfortunately not.
Okay, well, congratulations anyway. Thank you.
you.
Do you want people you think we could beat?
Brazil! No, we can beat them. Of course we can. We've got this far.
Absolutely.
We can do it again.
Gordon Cree, STV News, Edinburgh.
Well, let's go back stateside for the latest on the draw with Ronnie and Rahman.
Well, the draw is taking place at the the Kennedy Centre here in Washington. Ronnie Charters, you saw him earlier in the programme. Let's now cross to him once again. Ronnie, what's it like there?
Well, it's really good, Raman, but I would like a wee team or two out of the hat, wouldn't we? We've waited 27 years. I suppose we can wait an extra 15, 20 minutes as well. But it's not just us. I'm looking around at the world's media. Everyone's checking their watches. Everyone's wondering when we're going to get to the all-important World Cup draw. It wouldn't be the Kennedy Centre. It wouldn't be the USA, Canada and Mexico if there wasn't that razzmatazz. And that's exactly what we have. So this is the situation of play. We are currently going through a sort of video montage of the pot 1 teams. That includes, of course, the likes of England, of Brazil, of Argentina. They will be drawn out first. After that point, it'll then proceed to pot 2, where we'll have the likes of Croatia, Morocco in there as well. And then it is us in pot 3. As you can see, Rio Ferdinand and his co-host currently on stage, and we are seeing the pot 1 teams in front of us. And this is where it gets to the nitty-gritty. This is where the Scotland fans will be on the edge of their seat as we begin to see the draw take shape. Of course, added to that, there is that case of every group having the locations attached to it. So for instance, if we are drawn in Group A, we are in the opening game at the Azteca Stadium, that 87,500 capacity stadium, and Scotland would be centre stage. We go all the way through the groups, the bottom group, Group L. We could be in the likes of Toronto, Dallas, Boston, Atlanta, Georgia. So this is where we are, and this is just how incredible the World Cup draw really is. This is being viewed as well, folks, by well over 1 billion people across the globe at the moment. As we mentioned, USA, Canada and Mexico have already been out, and we are now set, Raman, to head back to see where Scotland are going to come.
Yeah, we'd like to know very soon, wouldn't we, Ronnie? Ronnie, give us a flavour of what it's like there. I mean, the SFA are represented by Steve Clarke and Mike Mulroney, the SFA president, and also Chief Executive Ian Maxwell. Have you seen them at the centre?
We saw them on the red carpet arriving. I was expecting maybe to see that Steve Clarke may have been dancing along to some of the entertainment. I don't think that was going to happen. But we are finally underway, Raman. I can tell you that. The draws, it's been a while, but we're finally getting to it. So let's see what the draw is then. Brazil is the first team out of the hat. Carlo Ancelotti's side, Brazil. And let's see if we can see what team Brazil. It wouldn't be great to go back against Brazil, that opening game in 1998. The memories that flood back from that match. Brazil, the first team out of the hat, and once those balls are opened, we'll get to see what group Brazil are in. I think some Scotland fans would maybe like to avoid Brazil if there's a chance of making it through to the next group. But Brazil, the first name out of the hat, apart from the hosts. Germany then, second. Would we take Germany? Probably. We take them in the opening game of the Euros, didn't we? And that didn't work too well. But this will see where we are. And Germany number 2 then. So we are getting through the draw. It's not exactly how quickly we would have liked it. Germany in Group E. That means Germany are going in Group E. Brazil are in Group C, ladies and gentlemen. That brings you up to date. Then we go to the Netherlands, the next team out of the hat. And we keep going. The Netherlands, of course, the likes of Virgil van Dijk, the former Celtic defender, the captain of their national team. And not a bad draw, I'd imagine, in terms of the pot 1s for the Netherlands. They go into Group F for this one. And we just keep going, don't we? How fantastic is this? The World Cup draw. And it's great that Scotland are finally back at that world stage, isn't it? Everyone, I imagine, at home on tenterhooks to see who it is going to be. Belgium in Group G. That's what we know next. The Belgians in Group G. And we keep going again. Rio Ferdinand taking us through the draw. So many people watching this back home. Isn't it fantastic? So what would we like? We would like Belgium in Group G. Would we like the Group F of the Netherlands, Group E of Germany, Group C of Brazil. The next team out is Group H, and it is Spain. One of the hot favourites to make it all the way and win. So we'll keep it going, Raman. The draw's underway. Back to you.
Ronnie at the Kennedy Centre, thanks very much for that. Well, There you have it, a World Cup draw that has been almost 30 years in the making for Scotland is underway, but we are, as Ronnie's saying, still waiting to learn who Scotland will face. The draw is taking place in Washington DC, a city that is synonymous with history, and certainly Steve Clarke and his players will be aiming to make history at next year's World Cup and to qualify to the knockout stages. From here is bye for now.